Welcome to Crimepedia. I am your host this week. My name is Morgan. I hope you are having a wonderful day. And with me, as always, is my true crime BFF. She is my better half. It is the very lovely Cherry. Hello, Cherry. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. Bit of a sore throat, so I sound more manly than you this week.
Oh, that's not good. It's been 2 weeks now, and I know that you just had your first real shift at a job, so we got to make sure we keep that throat in good working condition.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's all good. We're all good. So I'm looking forward to getting back to normality and getting back to what we do best.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah.
So besides that, how have things been going for you?
Yeah, really good. All good, thank you. Exciting this year is just flying by already. I can't believe we're in March already. Hopefully the spring is coming now and the sunshine's coming. I found lots and lots of new cases recently. Some people have emailed to me, but others there just seems to have all of a sudden been like this influx of cold cases that are looking for some help. So I've got quite a few to look through, which is quite exciting. But they just seem to have come out of nowhere. So it's a bit weird, but yeah, I found quite a few. So we've got some stuff to keep us busy for the next few months.
Yeah. I don't think we have much in the way of news this week.
No, I don't think there is really. We're preparing for normal things like CrimeCon UK. That's coming to London in September. We've got a whole new venue. It's going to be a bit different to what we've had before. It's not in a hotel this year. So we've got a brand new venue, which is awesome. It's gorgeous. Yep. There's also a big change. It's a big shift to the lineup this year. There's a lot more content creators, a lot more YouTube crime, because there's a lot of crime presenters on YouTube. There is a lot more YouTube. There's a lot of new speakers. There's a lot of new cases that people are talking about, a lot more procedural stuff this year. So it's going to be very different to any other CrimeCon that you've been to. A lot of people I've heard, we were talking earlier on when we were doing Crimepedia Extra, that flights between England and the US are a lot cheaper to fly from the US sometimes to England than it is to fly interstate in America. And so a few people that I've spoken to over the last couple of weeks have said, we're just going to fly to England. We're going to come to the UK CrimeCon and see what it's all about because it's cheaper than flying interstate and doing other stuff there. So quite a few people are actually coming over. We've got quite a lot of American podcasters, content creators, speakers coming over for the English CrimeCon as well. So I think it's going to be really exciting this year. I think this is going to be a CrimeCon like never before.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Yeah. There's some good stuff going on.
We do have a congratulations to give, Cherry.
Okay.
We need to give a big, huge congratulations to our friend Casey in the Cult Vault podcast, who has been shortlisted for Best Episodic Excellence at this year's True Crime Awards.
I'm so proud of her. If you don't know Casey and you don't know Casey's podcast, The Cult Vault is absolutely brilliant. And I know how much work goes into her podcast. It is factually fascinating. It is just, she's absolutely brilliant and she thoroughly deserves it. And I hope she wins. I really, really hope she wins that category because she does deserve that win.
100%. Yeah. So congratulations. And we hope you take home all the awards this year.
All the trophies. I wanted to win all of it. Take them all of them. Take them all home.
Even ones you don't qualify for. Publishing, take it.
Yeah. Take it. Yeah. Best TV series, Cult Vault. Just take it. The whole lot. Good for you.
Or on-screen, best true crime drama adaptation. Casey.
Yep. Cult Vault. 100%. Yeah, 100%. Let her just wipe the floor. Let her take the lot. She'll be the best dressed person there. She'll be the nicest person there. She's lovely. I can't speak highly enough of Casey.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard her podcast, go and listen to it. It's brilliant. Then you'll be hooked.
Can't wait to see her again.
No, I can't wait to see her too. It's going to be lovely. It's going to be really nice. So yeah, other than that, we didn't enter any awards this year because we've both been so busy away from the podcast that we just haven't had time to do that kind of stuff this year. So maybe next year we might dip our toe in and see whether or not we can get something, but I'm not worried. I'm quite happy to let the professionals do that kind of stuff.
I know. We are not professional at all.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. Talking of professional stuff, though, it's your week this week, so you have the case for us this week. What are we looking at?
We are looking at a very interesting and possibly complex case, which involves an assassination.
Okay.
So this is the assassination of Tom Wales. In October 2001, an assistant United States attorney sat in his basement floor office, working late into the night. Without warning, gunshots would ring out from the backyard, breaking the window facing his desk and hitting the man. They would be fatal. More than 20 years later, people are still asking, who killed the man and why? This is Crimepedia, and this is the assassination of Tom Wales. All right, Cherry. Tom Wales was a 49-year-old man who was an assistant United States attorney in Seattle. Now, he had a habit of often working late into the night. His frequent mantra to family and friends, "I'm here at my post, serving my sovereign," served as both a jest and a genuine expression. It reflected his methodical nature, often characterized by deliberate, measured actions. Wales held an idealistic dedication to his profession, finding fulfillment in utilizing the resources of the federal government to confront criminals, particularly those of privileged status who abused their power. On the evening of October 11th, 2001, Tom Wales found himself unexpectedly at home, contrary to his original plans. Now, originally, he had intended to dine and spend time with his girlfriend, Marlis DeJong, a court reporter who lived in downtown Seattle. However, earlier in the day, Wales informed DeJong of pending projects requiring his attention at home. After leaving his office near the federal courthouse that evening, he returned to his home in the quiet neighborhood of Queen Anne. After returning home around 7 p.m., Tom attended to his 20-year-old cat, Sam, administering her nightly arthritis medication.
20-year-old cat? 20? I didn't even know cats live that long.
Cat. That is an old cat.
That's like half my life. That is an old cat. No wonder it's got arthritis. Surprised it's still moving.
Sam,
that's pretty cool.
Wow.
That is an old cat.
Sam
I thought you were joking.
No. Sam was saving up her 9 lives.
Yeah, definitely.
Not messing around.
Wow.
She's like,
20
I am
years
not
old.
taking chances.
No. 20-year-old cat. I've never heard of that. That's brilliant.
20-year-old. That's crazy.
That's lovely. Yeah, that's lovely.
Now, he then prepared to install drywall in a stairwell on the second floor. By around 10 o'clock, with a glass of wine in his hand, he walked down to the basement office he shared with his ex-wife, Elizabeth, who divorced in 2000. So they've been divorced for at least a year now. Now, despite their separation, the two would remain amicable. As per the divorce agreement, Tom retained ownership of the home, while Elizabeth utilized the basement space for her business during daytime hours.
Uh-huh.
Now, in the evenings, Tom would use a computer in the basement office, usually to send emails to his children and Marlis DeJong. That night, he also planned to draft a fundraising letter for Washington Ceasefire, the state's leading gun control advocacy group, of which he served as president. At 10:24 p.m., Wales wrote an email to DeJong from his computer situated on a desk facing a window. Approximately 15 minutes later, someone fired 3 to 4 shots at him from the backyard, penetrating the window.
Oh, no.
Mary Aylward, an elderly neighbor living nearby, heard the gunshots and promptly dialed 911. Fortunately, an off-duty officer was in the vicinity and swiftly responded to the call. Upon arrival, Wales seemed conscious but unable to speak. Paramedics would swiftly transport him via ambulance to the trauma center at the Harbor View Medical Center in Seattle for urgent medical attention. Tom would immediately be taken into surgery. Friends and colleagues would gather at the hospital awaiting word on his condition. Just before dawn the next day, a surgeon emerged from the operating room to say that Tom Wales had died.
Oh.
As Tom Wales was a federal employee considered to have been killed in the line of duty, the FBI took charge of the investigation into his murder, assigning it the codename SEPROM, short for Seattle Prosecutor Murder.
Oh, I like it.
Now, despite this, there have been several criticisms surrounding the handling of the case by the FBI. Many in Seattle believe that the Bureau did not exhaust all avenues in their investigation. Okay?
But who are these people? Like, who are these people? They don't know what the FBI do.
They don't.
Realistically,
They don't.
how much are you privy to what the FBI do and know? Like, you
Right.
probably know 20% of what they do.
No,
So
exactly.
it always makes me laugh when they say this. Oh, they didn't exhaust all their possibilities. You have no idea. You have no idea how an investigation works, and you've got no idea what those people are doing. They're
No,
like
it's
one of the
100%
most,
correct.
they're like one of the biggest agencies in the whole of the United States. It's ridiculous to say that.
There are two
People
main...
just love they just love it, don't they? They just love
They do.
a reason to like fight about stuff like this.
Yeah. There were really two things that they would point to, which made them think, oh, they're not doing everything they can. First is,
Okay.
despite setting a reward for tips leading to the prosecution in the case, it
Yeah.
was set at $25,000, which was deemed insufficient by many in the local community. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
Just
they're
not
like,
high
okay,
enough.
that's
Okay.
not enough. All right.
Yeah.
In addition, the FBI did not provide additional assistance from Washington, D.C. Now, this
Right.
lack of additional resources from FBI headquarters, which is common in major cases that they prioritize, was noted by observers and raised questions about the depths of their commitment to solving the case. That's okay. I understand that, but there's
Yeah, I
one
understand.
big issue and one thing that I have to point out. Tom Wales was murdered on October 11th, 2001. A
Okay.
month
Oh, okay.
earlier were the
Yeah.
9/11 terror attacks.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Just
full
bad timing.
is really bad timing. Everything at this point is going into the investigation into 9/11.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the FBI is going to provide whatever they can,
That's right. I agree.
but their top priority is going to be at this
Yeah.
point 9/11.
Unfortunately for his family, yeah. You can
Yeah.
understand that.
I mean, so it's not like they aren't they not putting any investigators on the case. They from the local field office, it was
Yeah.
all hands on deck for the case.
They may just
And
not have had the resources at that time to dedicate to his case because, like you
mhm,
say, the 9/11
yeah,
the 9/11 situation was going on, and quite rightly, it's all hands on deck with that one because that's,
yeah.
affecting, everybody.
And I mean, I understand why family would feel this way. They felt slighted as
Of
well.
course.
They
Yeah, of
felt slighted
course.
as well as since there were no like significant higher ups that had sent or had attended his memorial in his funeral.
Oh,
I
okay.
believe
Yeah.
they sent a low level director to as their person there. So I think the family felt slighted, like they don't care
And
about
you're and
Tom.
they're grieving, and they don't, to the family, Tom's death is, world shattering for them.
Hmm.
They're not thinking about 9/11 as sad as it is. They're not thinking about that. They're thinking about the fact that they've just lost, their husband, father, son. So you can understand why. You can understand why they feel slighted.
No,
I do get
absolutely.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do get it.
Now, unfortunately, very few clues remained at the scene of the crime, with only bullets and shell casings serving as physical evidence. Now, given this limited evidence, investigators would then focus on motive as a potential avenue for solving the case.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if that's all you have, that's a very, very difficult task to do in any situation, in any case. But I think
There's got to be a lot of people.
with Tom Wales, there'll be a lot
Yeah.
of people, right?
There's a lot of people
Now,
to consider.
yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, since this was an apparent, there was an apparent lack of randomness in this attack.
Yeah.
Investigators would delve into Tom's personal, social, and personal life to see if there was
Okay.
anything that would pop up. Now, they would be able to quickly see that Tom maintained a good relationship with his ex-wife, who was actually overseas at the time of the incident. So that was easy for them to say, there's no reason for Elizabeth to be involved in this. She couldn't have done this.
Okay.
She was in Germany at the time. So let's move on. So they looked at the ex-wife, nothing there that was significant. They also looked into Tom's social life. Tom had been romantically involved with several women after this separation,
Okay.
including his current
Right.
girlfriend.
Yeah.
However, upon investigation, none of these women appeared to have any motive for harming Tom. So there was no woman that
Okay.
felt scorned, felt upset, felt like she had been
Yeah.
betrayed by him, whatever it might be. So it wasn't a woman scorned situation. So you kind of have to move on from that.
Yeah.
Now, in July of 2001, this was just 3 months prior to his death, Tom found himself in an altercation at a parking garage near his office. Now, his vehicle collided with a limousine, sparking a heated dispute with the limousine driver, who requested Tom's insurance card and driver's license. Tom, refusing to comply, left the garage in frustration before colliding with a truck on his way out. Now, this incident
Oh
prompted the
no.
limo driver to contact the police, resulting in Tom being charged with a hit and run offense. However, the
Yeah.
charges would be subsequently dropped a few weeks later. To me, I don't think that this type of event would necessarily lead to a grudge that could lead to death. I mean, unless the
No, I
limo
mean
driver
you're angry
or
at the time, aren't you? You're not angry like, a couple of days later. You calm down from it. I mean, are you still that angry that you could go into someone's house and shoot them?
no, exactly. And I think
Yeah, I don't know
ultimately
about that. Yeah.
that's what investigators determine. Like, yeah,
Of
this could have been
course.
something, but there's not much to it. Um,
No.
so I
Maybe
mean,
if you
yeah,
got
this
shot at the time,
yeah, or the
if you
guy
got shot there
threatened
at the
him,
time,
or what?
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
and here's the thing: we don't know. Like, okay, so while he refused to comply and didn't give his insurance information, that doesn't mean like later on, after he was charged, maybe the limo driver and the truck driver, they got it. They got their cars fixed. Okay, done. Move
Yeah.
on, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The next thing investigators would do would they would examine Tom's involvement with Washington Ceasefire, particularly his leadership in a
Okay.
hard fought statewide gun control initiative 4 years prior. Okay, so this was a
Okay.
very heated subject. So he was trying to get some gun control laws put into place in the state of Washington. The NRA got heavily involved in opposition to him. But the problem was this was 4 years prior to his death, right?
Oh.
So
Yeah.
that's not I don't think that's necessarily going to be a good motive. If someone was that upset
No.
with him, here's the thing too: his initiative failed. So even though he was like pushing for gun control measures, it ultimately
Yeah.
failed. So would someone really hold a grudge for someone who had tried to put in gun control and ultimately did not succeed and wait 4 years to commit a murder? Probably not, right?
It's unlikely, isn't it?
It is very unlikely. So they also determined that Tom's subsequent activities after this gun control initiative did not involve any notable controversies or contentious issues. So even though he was still
Okay.
involved with Washington Ceasefire, he wasn't leading any of these initiatives. There was nothing that was currently going on that would get people riled up and have people feel anger towards him.
Yeah.
Finally, investigators would turn their attention to cases that Tom had been working on or were working on as an assistant United States attorney. There was one case in particular that investigators would focus on. For 5 years prior to his death, Tom had been focused on what he called the helicopter case. Okay? So this is actually really interesting. So the Seattle area is the home of Boeing, as well as numerous aviation suppliers. Now, this would attract aviation enthusiasts to try to turn their passions into entrepreneurial ventures. So people that would go to, a lot of people would go to the Seattle area hoping to, they love aviation and they want to work in the aviation. They want to start different businesses. One such opportunity arose in the wake of the Vietnam War. Now, during the war, the primary workhorse helicopter for the United States military was the Bell UH-1 series, which is commonly referred to as the Huey. Okay. Now, these helicopters came in various configurations, many capable of transporting approximately a dozen troops. Following the war, a surplus of around 5,000 UH-1 helicopters became available on the second-hand market in the United States. Seizing on this opportunity, several local entrepreneurs opted to repurpose these surplus military models for civilian use.
Yeah.
All right. Now, these conversions were legally permissible as long as they adhere to safety regulations stipulated by the Federal Aviation Administration. So what they would do is they would take these military helicopters, they would do massive conversions. They would, of course, you can't have military hardware in these things. So you need to be able to take it from a military use to commercial use, and that all the safety measures in the commercial use are there, right? So, at this time, I don't know if, what the requirements are, but I'm sure like the military use helicopters, they don't have like things like seatbelts. They don't have,
no.
different safety measures. So you got to have those in if you're going to have civilians utilizing them.
Yeah, the public, yeah.
Yeah. Now, in the mid-1990s, Tom had begun working with his colleague Bob Westinghouse, who was a special agent from the FAA, in investigating several helicopter conversions in the Seattle area. But by 2000, the investigation into the helicopter conversions had begun to wind down with disappointing results. Their investigation had led to only one guilty plea, which was a minor federal offense for a record-keeping infraction. So by 2000, 2001, there was only one case remaining. Okay. In 1997, investigators had searched the premises of a helicopter company owned by two local men, James Anderson and Kim Powell. The firm that they owned, called Intrex Helicopter, was based out of Powell's home, and they were renovating a single helicopter for civilian use.
Okay.
Now, in 2000, Tom obtained an 8-count indictment against Anderson and Powell on charges that included conspiracy to defraud the United States, mail fraud, and making false statements. The government accused the men of falsifying the helicopter's maintenance records and submitting them to the FAA as part of an effort to certify the helicopter for civilian use. Now, this was quite lucrative, right? So in case filings, the men actually stated that it was going to cost them about $600,000 to actually convert the helicopter into civilian use. But after conversion, they would be able to sell that converted helicopter for roughly $1.2 million. So
wow, that's
for
big.
them,
That's good motive.
Big money. Yeah.
That's a good motive. That's not just like a smack to the side of your limousine motive. That's a pretty hefty $1 million motive, that one.
It is a big motive, right?
You'd be stupid to ignore it, wouldn't you? That way, if you put it that way. I mean, you've got to obviously, when you look at those two as motives, which is the most likely? Somebody, I mean, when in America, if you have an accident and you I'm guessing it's the same as England. So you have an accident, if the cars aren't sort of like completely smashed in on the road and you can both drive away, do you exchange insurance details? And then So you do. So when you exchange insurance details, would you just give a name, a telephone number, and the registration of your vehicle? Is that what you give each other?
Yeah. Yes. For them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And you
there's
would
no
give them. Yeah.
address.
No
You
address.
would give them your no, so there's no address.
No
So
address.
unless these two guys followed him home, how would they know where he lived to go back and like, so I'm so mad at you for hitting my car. I'm now going to shoot through the house and hit you. They would have to follow him home to know where he lives. I don't think that an accident like that is going to cause
No.
so much anger that you then go and research where this guy lives to turn up at his house. When you look at these two motives
Well.
together, I'm thinking as you're
Yeah.
talking. It's got to be something to do with his work because his work is
Right.
so serious. It affects
It
so
is.
many people. There's a lot of money involved.
Yep.
It's the way I would kind of be. I would be looking if I was investigating this case. That would be where I would be looking because
Yes.
his decisions and his his court dealings are going to affect a lot of people, and they are going
A
to
lot of
cause
people.
people to lose a lot of money.
And these are serious crimes. I mean, these are federal crimes. We're
We're not
talking.
talking just like
It's not petty. These aren't petty crimes that people are committing. These are major crimes. He wouldn't be
that would
wasting,
yeah
5, 6, 7 years of his life on these cases if they were insignificant.
exactly. And so if he was to suddenly go in air quotes missing, then a
Mhm.
lot of people would be a lot better off because those cases
Yeah.
aren't going to get the attention that they're getting because he's not around to do it. So
Right.
it makes me think we need to be looking into some of the things that he's dealing with his work.
Exactly. Exactly. Now,
Yeah.
unfortunately for Tom, this case would ultimately actually fall apart in 2001, all right? When the
Okay.
prosecutor's expert witness from the FAA decided that he no longer supported the government's theory, okay? So on June 29th, 2001, Tom
Oh,
was forced to dismiss the indictment against Anderson and Powell, okay? So while he had to dismiss the indictment, you got to remember that doesn't mean that they can't come back, right? So it can always come
it doesn't
back.
mean say that just goes away. Yeah, it doesn't just go away. You just start again.
It does not go away. So
Yeah.
that's one thing. Now, there's another thing that occurred that would be another good motive, right?
Uh-huh.
On on July 27th, 2001, so this was a month after the dismissal
Mhm.
of the indictment, James
Yeah.
Anderson would pursue legal action against the U.S. Attorney's Office, invoking an obscure statute known as the Hyde Amendment. Okay, now enacted in 1997, this law permits acquitted defendants in federal court to sue prosecutors for reimbursement of legal expenses, contingent upon demonstrating that the case was pursued in a manner deemed frivolous and/or in bad faith. Anderson
Okay.
sought a reimbursement totaling $128,000 from the government.
Right.
Now, in response, Wales' office filed a rebuttal to Anderson's lawsuit in federal district court. In the brief that they submitted, they asserted, and I quote, "We are convinced that he brings this motion in large part to discover the identity of additional witnesses that he imagines may have contributed to his indictment. Furthermore," it contended, "during the course of the investigation, the government received information from at least two persons indicative of the defendant Anderson's violent and retributive nature." So
Oh,
they
okay.
claim like he holds grudges
He's violent.
and he goes
Yeah.
after those that he thinks have done him wrong. Okay,
Yeah, so whoever slighted him, he goes after them, like,
they do.
legally goes at them. Okay.
Now, ultimately, Anderson's motion was dismissed and a decision upheld upon subsequent appeal. So now James Anderson has really two things that he's pissed off about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now he's not getting his money back. He's not getting reimbursed for legal fees, and
Yeah.
he still has this indictment hanging over his head. Even though the original indictment
Yeah.
was dismissed, it can come back.
Still there. That's right.
Now, James Anderson at the time was a 40-year-old pilot for U.S. Airways, and he at the time of the murder he lived alone in Beaux Arts Village, which is a Seattle suburb. On the night of Will's murder, Westinghouse, who was the FAA special agent working alongside
Yeah.
Tom Wales, told investigators that he thought Anderson should be considered a suspect. For the next several months, Westinghouse would receive around-the-clock protection from U.S. Marshals. So they took it serious. This Anderson guy, very serious, right?
Yeah.
Now, it's believed that Anderson would be the FBI's only suspect in this case. Okay?
Well, he's pretty pissed off, Anderson. I mean, really,
He's
Tom's
very
done
pissed
him
off.
he's done him some wrong over and over. So it's a good motive.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good motive.
It is. Now, in 2004, the Seattle Times would disclose that the FBI conducted a search of Anderson's residence in Beaux Arts, during which they seized 27 boxes of potential evidence. Additionally, agents searched 2 properties in the neighboring city of Bellingham, one where Anderson previously lived, and another where he would frequently visit friends. At his former residence, investigators extracted a bullet embedded in a wall for forensic examination, while at his friend's residence, a bullet and shell casing were confiscated. Now, the Seattle Times would also cite accounts from 2 neighbors of Anderson in Bellingham who claimed to have occasionally observed him discharging a handgun into the ground near the rear deck of his home. So this guy has a gun. He likes to shoot it. He's obviously not very safe with it if he's shooting it into his walls and he's just shooting into the ground.
Yeah, into the ground.
He's not a big fan of gun safety. Now, Anderson's movements on the night of the murder were traced in detail. In the early evening, he and a friend had attended a showing of 2001: A Space Odyssey at a movie theater about 10 minutes from Tom Wales' home in Queen Anne. After the murder, someone had made telephone calls from Anderson's home in Beaux Arts Village, which was about 20 minutes from Queen Anne. According to a special agent with the FBI, while the timeline between when the movie ended and the phone call was made, while it would be tight, it was not impossible for a person to have committed a murder in between.
Okay.
So he's 10 minutes from Tom's home.
Yeah.
Before the murder, and then he ends up 20 minutes away after the murder.
So it's not enough time.
Well, no, they said it's the timeline is tight, but it is possible.
It's doable. Okay.
It is doable, yes. So Anderson could have committed the murders. He could have been the gunman. But there obviously still not enough evidence to prove this.
And he's got good income, Anderson. So he has got the means to not be the person that did this, if you get my meaning. He's
That's
got
correct.
enough, he's got
absolutely.
enough to be able to get some help on that one.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct.
I mean, you've got to be pretty confident in your shooting ability to shoot someone through a house, through a window. You've got to be quite confident in your ability to shoot a gun like that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean,
especially to ensure you hit the right person.
The right person. It's at night. Obviously, I don't know what the lighting condition was inside the house.
No.
I mean, if the lights are off, I mean, how many times have you been on the computer at night and it's just a computer monitor, right? You don't have any other lights on.
Yeah.
Because you don't need them on. So if it's just a monitor light, I mean, how do you know that's him?
Exactly. I'd be really interested to see what it was. Yeah, what the actual crime scene was like. I would be really interested to see what situation we're looking at. What kind of, because they would have done tests to see how far away that gun was shot from, because you'd know from the injuries to him how far away it was. So I'd be really interested to see whether this person is quite clearly a confident gun user, or whether this person was just like right up against the window, making sure it was definitely him.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously it's gone through the window. We know that it's not somebody in the house. We know it's gone through the window because of the glass break-in. So we know that that's happened. So it'd be really interesting to see the actual what it looks like outside at that time of night. What's the street area like? What are the lights like in that area? Is it completely pitch black? Do they have street lights? Has he got any security lights on his property that come on? It would be, and I'm surprised that he doesn't have any kind of security surveillance, CCTV. I'm surprised that he hasn't got anything like that, considering he's got such a high-powered job and people are going to be pissed off with him because of what he does and the decisions that he makes throughout his job. He makes enemies all the time because he makes decisions that are huge money, it's huge money decisions that
Yeah.
are effectively ruining some people's lives
Yeah.
and possibly putting them in prison. So I'd be really interested to actually see
I mean,
what the actual crime scene looked like.
something as simple as like a motion sensor, like floodlight in the
Yeah.
backyard would
I'm
have
surprised he
prevented
hasn't got
this,
something like that.
right?
Yeah.
If he would have had,
Considering.
if he would have had that, like as soon as someone, it picked up someone moving in the backyard, lights would have come on. He would have noticed it,
Yeah.
and he could have taken measures to get away from the window to get out of
Yeah.
the area.
Considering he's got such a high-powered job, I'm very surprised at the lack of security on his property.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're
Strange,
absolutely
that.
right. It is. Now, investigators would be able to determine that Tom had been killed by a .380 caliber bullets that came from a Makarov semi-automatic handgun.
Okay.
Ballistic experts would notice some unusual markings on the bullets, indicating that they had been fired through a replacement gun barrel.
Oh,
This
okay.
this is amazing. This is why I love stuff like the FBI investigators. They were able to
Yeah.
actually locate the manufacturer of this replacement barrel.
It's
And they were
brilliant,
able to.
isn't it?
It is. They were able to learn that they had sold approximately 2,600 of these barrels. So 2,600 of these barrels.
Wow.
At that point, the FBI then started a search to find each and every one of these barrels.
Imagine being that FBI agent, right, that discovers that and is told that, yeah, we found it's got a replacement barrel. Let's go and see how many of these things have been sold, hoping there's going to be like 20, 30, and it comes back 2,600 of them. Oh my God, that's going to be exhaustive police work.
And they're like,
completely.
okay, go find them all. Go find
exactly.
them all.
Trace every single one. Good luck.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Good on them. That's brilliant.
I can tell you they are still searching for all of them. So I'm sure they found they found a lot of them, but they are still searching. So because once you find that barrel, then that's going to open up a huge.
Oh, it's going to blow the case wide open.
It is. Absolutely. So that's impressive that you're able to look at the markings on the bullets and then be able to determine, oh, this was a replacement gun barrel. This is an original gun barrel. Oh, this is who manufactured. That's unbelievable.
It is. It's quite exciting. I can imagine when they found that out whilst they were doing that. I can imagine it was quite an exciting find.
Oh, 100%.
And then you get there's 2,600 of them, and everybody just goes, oh, okay.
Okay. Great. Now, in 2004, FBI agents would learn that shortly before Tom was killed, one of his neighbors actually had reported a suspicious man in the area. Somehow, this information had fallen through the cracks in the immediate aftermath of the killing. So it would take him almost 3 years to learn, hey, someone actually reported a suspicious man, and they were able to give a description of them. So we're talking, it's like, why? How do you not know this?
Frustrating, yeah.
It would. Now, investigators would then contact a neighbor who helped them produce a sketch of the man who he had seen pulling a black nylon suitcase in Tom's neighborhood just weeks before he was killed. The man was described as being in his late 30s or early 40s with a slim build, black hair, tobacco-stained teeth, and a chipped left front tooth.
He got close to him then to know that his teeth was tobacco stained and that he had a chip in his tooth.
Very close.
That's quite a detailed description of somebody.
Yeah. I think it would have been very helpful if this would have come out in 2001, 2002. Yeah, I mean, it's helpful in 2004, right? But to have someone who was able to say, yeah, there's who knows, this person might not have had anything to do with it, but if it was, this person was so suspicious that the guy called and then 3 years later was able to describe him, that's something that's very important. That's significant, right?
It is. Yeah. I mean, seriously, if I asked you to describe, like, somebody from, I don't know, 6 months, even if let's say I pick someone from CrimeCon, okay, somebody that you were talking to at CrimeCon when we were both there, if I asked you to describe what they actually look like a proper description, it would be difficult. It would be
Let me see
so
if I can do this.
difficult because that was last year.
Okay, so let me see if I can do this. So there's one person who that we discussed.
I tell you what. I tell you, there's one person that sat opposite us the whole time. Stuart from British Murders sat opposite us the whole time. What does Stuart look like? We literally sat there all day facing him.
Looking at him.
What does he look like?
No
we
idea.
Looked at him all day.
No idea.
There you go. What colour hair has he got? And you looked at him all day, like less than a year ago.
Brown?
There you go.
I don't know.
And this guy is like, he's going back to tobacco-stained teeth and a chipped tooth. 4 years later? I'm a bit suspicious about that.
Yeah.
I'm a bit suspicious about that one. That's quite. We sat in front of Stuart, British Murders, for more than 8 hours that day. He was in the bar with us in the evening. We went out for dinner. He was with us out for dinner.
I can't describe him.
Exactly. No. And we looked at him for 8 hours. He didn't just pull up in a car with a suitcase and walk away. I'm suspicious of that. I'm really suspicious of that.
But there, so even like there was at least one person that I found very weird there, right? And I can picture him. I don't know. I don't like. Okay, this is, you know who I'm talking about? They were always around, and they were always staring.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, so this is my description. Let's see if this is good. So he was probably around 6 foot, maybe 6'1".
Yeah.
Skinny.
Yeah.
He had short brown hair. Brownish.
Dark brown hair, yeah.
Dead eyes. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. But what did his teeth look like?
No idea.
And he came over and spoke with us.
Yeah.
And what did the teeth look like? I can't remember. I don't remember what they looked like.
They were probably fine. Right? I guess.
That's what I'm saying. That's why that was less than a year ago. That's two of us, less than a year ago.
So do it 3 years later.
3 years later, and you're remembering details such as his teeth were tobacco stained, and they were chipped. Like chipped. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure that somebody has that much of a, to not report it for 3 years and then to have that kind of like recollection.
Right.
Just seems fishy to me.
But you know what the biggest problem too, I think, with that is that A, if this person has nothing to do with it, or B, this person's recollection is completely wrong, it completely throws off the case. Because now people,
definitely.
You put out this sketch of this, this person of interest, and now this becomes, this is the person who did it. And so this is who we're looking for.
That's right. And so if you've got thoughts of somebody else, and then you see that, your thoughts of somebody else, you think, oh, it can't be him. It must be this guy.
Yeah, it doesn't look like them, so it can't be them.
No. So you forget about that person because that's not what they're putting out. So I agree. It seems strange to me. I just find that really strange that the recollection is so pinpoint 3 years later.
I would have felt better about it if it would have been immediately after.
The same year. I agree. Yeah, definitely. But the fact that it was 3 years after, it was so detailed, I find that strange.
Mm-hmm. It's very strange. It's very strange. Now, another very strange thing happened in January 2006. When a typed letter postmarked from Las Vegas arrived at the FBI field offices in Seattle, which was in regards to Tom C. Wales. Okay?
Right.
Now this letter, and I'm gonna read this letter with what I have. It says, okay, so I was broke in between jobs. I got an anonymous call offering a certain amount of money to shoot the guy.
Yeah.
So I drove to Seattle to do the job. I did not even know his name. I just got laid off from a job. Nice talking lady. I didn't know her name. She called me, talked to me by name, and asked if I needed some money. I agreed to pursue the matter. Hell, I was going bankrupt. I drove to the address, and then I parked some distance away, north of downtown. I kind of camped out in the yard of his house and waited for the guy to settle in at his computer. Once he was there, I took careful aim. I shot 2 or possibly more times and watched him collapse. I absurdly waited a few minutes and then I left. I was sure he was dead. Retracing my steps, I dropped off the gun, found my money, and I returned to Vegas. I feel bad about it, but I needed the money. There were no witnesses. Now, the envelope identified the sender as Gidget and gave a return address to a business in Las Vegas with no apparent connection to the crime. Investigators believe that the letter may have been typed at a Kinko's or somewhere similar. So Kinko's would be...
What's a Kinko's? Yeah.
It was a place that you would go to like get things printed, or usually you could like take like FedEx boxes to Kinko's to be picked up and delivered.
Right.
You'd go there back when they actually fax machines. If you needed something faxed, you'd go to Kinko's and they'd fax it for you. Okay, so very similar to like a UPS or a FedEx. I mean, it doesn't have like the it's not a shipping company, but you could do stuff like that there.
Yeah. Okay.
Now there are no traces of DNA anywhere on the letter or on the envelope, so they weren't able to find any DNA on it. Now, while investigators believe that the account described in the letter was a fabrication, it's also believed that whoever wrote the letter had a fairly sophisticated knowledge of the murder.
That's what I was going to ask. I wonder if I don't know if they've given us the whole letter or if there's something in that letter that the general public weren't aware of. Because if that's the case, you kind of got a good confession there.
They stated that there was information in the letter which they estimated 90% of the people of Seattle would have no knowledge of.
No idea of. Yeah.
Right.
That's pretty clever. Yeah.
Now, an analysis of the letter by the behavioral sciences units of the FBI suggested that the author could have been connected to the crime. Investigators were also able to determine that James Anderson was in Las Vegas at the time the letter was sent.
Okay.
So interesting. So I don't know what the point of sending this letter would be, though.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, the only reason you would send a letter like that is to ease your own guilt, is to explain what happened and what. But I'd be, they've explained why he was killed, because someone's paid them to do it and they needed the money. So they've kind of justified why they did what they did without handing themselves in. So you can't be that sorry because you didn't hand yourself in.
Which tells me that even though Anderson was in Vegas at the time, he wouldn't have sent that letter. I don't think Anderson would have sent this letter.
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think it's him.
Yeah, if Anderson committed the crime and
I don't think he did.
I don't think Anderson would feel bad about it at all.
I also think it makes more sense to pay someone else to do it, someone who's desperate, someone who doesn't know who you are, that they are just the collateral damage. If they go to prison, they go to prison. It's not your problem. You've paid them. If they get themselves caught, they don't know who you are, so you're not gonna get caught anyway because they don't know you. So I think what the letter is saying. I mean, he didn't meet with anyone. He didn't see anyone. So I mean, who's going to get?
But is that part true though? Right? Is it true? Is it true that he met with a woman? Is it true that he didn't know the person who hired him? I mean, possibly.
These things happen. You can do this on Craigslist.
Yeah, that's true.
Look at the cases we've covered before where people hire other people. People put themselves up for, I'm happy to go and shoot people for you. I'm happy to be, hired, hitman for hire. Right. You don't know the person you're meeting. This person who is, say, like an average Joe who is down on his luck, got no money, and then goes and kills someone and has remorse for it because he was down on his luck and he's got no money, and that's his kind of reasoning why he did it. But he's not sorry enough to hand himself in, but he's sorry for doing it, and he kind of gets that weight off of his chest by writing this letter. But he doesn't implicate anyone because he doesn't know anything. So say that James did hire him through somebody else.
Yep.
No one's gonna get back to James with it because he doesn't know that it was James that hired him. So I
Right.
mean, to
That's true.
me, this makes perfect sense. To me,
It
it makes
does.
it. He's got the means. He's got the money. It makes
Hmm.
perfect sense that this was a murder for hire.
Yeah.
Whether it was James or not, I'm not saying it was him because I don't think I've got enough evidence to say that. But for
Yeah.
me, this seems like a perfect murder for hire because no one's going to get back to the person. This is all done. Here's your money hidden under this bush. Get the job done. You can have the money.
Right.
So I don't. That's
Exactly.
what it seems like to me.
No. Yeah. You're right. You're right. Now, in June 2007, the number of agents assigned to this case would be reduced to just 2. So by 2007, I mean they're removing resources. It seems like the active case is kind of winding down at that point, especially if
Yeah.
you're saying, okay, we just need 2 people to continue working this case. So for the next 11 years, not much would come out in regards to the investigation into the murder. Then
Okay.
in 2018, FBI officials announced that they now believed that the killing of Tom Wales involved a conspiracy and a hired gunman.
Yes,
Good
go
job.
Detective Cherry. They should hire me in the
Good
FBI.
job.
Sign me
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Ah.
Now, at this point, their investigation was focusing on James Anderson as well as a small circle of
Yeah.
people who agents suspected were involved in the killing. Okay. Now, on the 20th anniversary of Tom Wales' death, so this was in 2021, the reward for information leading to an arrest in the murder of Tom Wales was increased to $2.5 million.
Wow, that's a bit different to the very first 25,000 or whatever it was.
Very, very different. I know that previously
Jeez.
they did raise it to 1.5 at some point, but it's now up to
Yeah.
2.5 million dollars. Now,
That's a
also
good reason to get people to come forward.
yes, it
$2.5
is.
million dollars is a real pull on your strings, isn't it, really? I mean,
Yeah,
25,000, could you start over with a new life? No. 2 million, you could start over a new life.
right. Now, also
Mm.
at the time, additional details about the FBI's theory would begin to emerge. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole theory because this could be a whole nother episode and it's extremely
Okay.
detailed. So I'm just going to give you
Yeah.
just a brief overview of what their theory is. Okay.
Okay.
So the current theory is the FBI believe that Anderson is suspected of having connections to the Sinaloa Mexican drug cartel. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Which could possibly link them to the man that they believe pulled the trigger. So at this point, the FBI believe they know who killed Tom
Yeah.
Wales, right?
Yeah.
They are trying to link this man back to James Anderson. Okay.
Right.
So so the theory goes on to state that they believe that Anderson had been smuggling drugs for their cartel and ultimately sought its help in finding someone to kill Tom Wales for him. Okay.
Yeah.
This would lead to a low-level career criminal from Shohomish, if I pronounce this wrong, I'm sorry, but I'll try my best. Shohomish County, Washington, to be recruited in order to pay off a drug debt.
Yeah.
The FBI believed that this man did not know who ordered the hit, who he killed, or why.
Why? Yeah. I'm liking the FBI's thinking.
So, I think the person who wrote the letter back in 2006 was the
Yeah.
gunman.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's someone who feels bad trying to get it off their chest. I mean, I'm not this is just purely opinion. And we're not investigators, but this is purely opinion in that I think that not James, sorry, Tom had so many enemies throughout his work that you
Mm-hmm.
could pick. I mean, we're talking about big money, and that's the thing that I think is a motivator. We know through murder, it's usually something to do with money. It's usually crime of passion. There's these factors in murder where it's usually they fall into a category. This is quite clearly a money category. This isn't a relationship thing. This isn't somebody pissed off that he's been sleeping with his wife. This is purely a money and a business. This is a guy that's getting in the way of people doing the jobs they're doing and making the money they're making. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say hiring some low-level drug dealer who is desperate because he's got no money and he's got a debt to pay off because he owes these people, he's going to do it. It's the fight or flight method for a human. This guy's life is at stake. He is going to take the life of that guy to save his own. He then feels really bad about it. And so he writes in and says, this is what happened. This is what I did. He's not giving up any names. I mean, I'd be very interested to see whether the guy that the FBI think it is actually still alive right now. Because if they think that it was him and then all of a sudden this guy disappears off the face of the earth, but they're going to be pretty annoyed that he's written a letter in to say that. And if they hear about it, he's not going to be the most popular person in the world because they're going to be worried that they are going to pin it back to them. And they are kind of, they're working their way back to now a drug cartel. I mean, that's serious business. That's not like a small town thing. That's serious business. So
it is not.
I can see it. It works. It's understandable. It's a good way to, I think it's a really good sort of line of inquiry.
I mean, the amount of information that they have released on this is unbelievable.
So what more have they got, Morgan? That's the thing. The amount of information that they've released, they've got a shit ton more. They've got so much more that they're not releasing.
My thought on this is that they could, I think that they could go after who they believe the gunman was. But they want the whole case. So they are going after Anderson. So they are not they're not going to show their hand until they're able to make the connection between Anderson and this gunman.
Yeah.
So they're making the connections. They're just waiting for that. They're waiting for that 100%. Final piece.
100%. Yeah, you're right. I honestly think you're right. I agree with you.
I mean, this case is absolutely fascinating because
what an exciting case to work on.
This is a Hollywood movie, right?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, you're talking about a federal agent murdered. You're talking about conspiracy. You're talking about drug cartels. You're talking about revenge, retribution. This is absolutely fascinating.
I mean, obviously we're not forgetting that at the heart of this is the murder of a human being. I mean, that's the crux of it. I mean, Tom's family, they've lost their family member, regardless of what job he does. He's still a human. But yes, working on this case as an FBI agent or as a professional, this would be a really, really exciting case because there's so much in it. I mean, who would have thought? Who would have thought that it would come this far?
Yeah. It's just amazing because
this
is one of those cases
so much
where
to read into.
It went 17 years with not a whole lot going on or not information. It's like, what are they doing? How they, where's the case? And then all of a sudden in the past, well, now it's been 6 years. Just so much wealth of information has come out. We know where the FBI stands on this, and I think more than ever they are determined to get this solved.
It's never too late. I mean, people don't give up on cases like this where it's been years and nothing's happening. It may feel like nothing's happening, but they work so hard, these agents. They work so hard behind the scenes, and there's loads going on that no one knows about. Even the families. I've listened to podcasts where you're speaking to detectives and they say, we couldn't tell the family. We couldn't let them know. Because if they do, the family reacts a certain way, things get leaked, things get said, and then it can jeopardize the case. So they keep the family in the dark, however wrong that feels to the family. But the end goal is to get these people and to get justice.
Yeah. It's absolutely insane. And I mean, just real quick, going back to the sketch that we talked about, we don't trust it.
Yeah.
There's actually a person who is involved with one of these drug rings who's kind of a he's not a person interested in the actual murder, but he is almost like he's an informant. I would basically call him an informant. So he has a lot of knowledge of how it worked.
Yeah.
He states that he knows the man that is in the sketch. And he knows at the time this guy was in desperate trouble. And so he met him originally in prison. He was a low-level criminal. He was involved in drug smuggling and drug distribution. Before the murders, he had stolen nearly $15,000. he was in desperate need of money.
Yeah.
And his description matches that of the sketch that was put out in 2004.
See, there's always something, isn't it? In these cases that seem impossible at some point, there's always something. There's always a set of loose lips, or there's a piece of evidence that is just waiting to be found. It's just about finding them and putting the pieces together. It's there. It's always there. It's just a matter of finding it, or the right person saying the right thing at the, to the other right person. It's always there. It's so crazy. How crazy. And it's still active investigation now.
Still active investigation.
Okay.
They're trying to make all the links, and they're trying to put their case together.
Yeah.
It seems like
frustrating.
And very frustrating, but there's a lot of hope in this one.
Good.
And the family deserves it.
I really hope so. Yeah.
Tom Wales didn't deserve to be shot and killed like that. He was doing his job.
No.
It's
just his job,
Yeah.
And if you're going to do bad things, then you need to be prepared to be caught for doing those bad things. So you don't have to do them. If you've got the balls to go and be within in a situation like that, then you've got to have the balls to stand up and get counted when it's time. So
definitely,
I have no sympathy with them.
100%. So so still active. Hopefully they're able to finish their case.
Definitely need to keep an eye on this one.
Get indictments.
Yeah, definitely. It's really interesting. And you can find information about this online. So if you're listening now and you want to find out more about this case, you can just Google and have a look.
Yeah, Google Tom Wales. I mean, there's a lot of information. Seattle Times has a wealth of information on this case. So it's so fascinating.
Because we can't cover the whole, the whole investing. You said we haven't got time to cover the whole of what the FBI was saying. Be interesting to go and have a look at that. So if you've got 5 minutes and this has really interested you too, like it obviously has Morgan, he's there on the case. You can go and check it out. So check it out. I'm sure he would love to talk to you about it. You can send him Instagram messages because he would love that. He loves it. He's when a case captivates you, it properly captivates you, doesn't it? So
absolutely, yeah. This one fell into my lap, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. Assassination, federal employee, and then
it just gets worse and worse.
I was like, wow, this is. You start talking about the Sinaloa drug cartel. I'm like, this is unbelievable.
It does. It sounds like a film. It does. It's 100%, crazy. In fact, probably one day it probably will be a film
or Netflix series or something. I'd give it to me. I would take it. I would love it.
Well, thank you. That was a very interesting. I'm gonna have to go and look that up now. That was very interesting. And like I said, if you found that interesting and you want to chat to Morgan about it, I'm sure he will give you all the facts that he can. He loves that kind of thing. So
I do.
So at the end of our show, as we always do, it's time to have a look at some of the world's dumbest criminals.
Hey, Captain Stupid Poopy Pants, use a dummy.
No, this person really is a dummy, Morgan. So this thief obviously watched too much television and how to carry out his crimes, okay? As a 29-year-old tried to break into his neighbour's flat using his bank card. Now, as he was doing this, he woke the owner up and obviously in his haste to get away, the card snapped in half, okay?
Oh, Jesus,
leaving behind his name and account details in the door. So the victim opened the door and out falls half of this guy's bank card. So he calls the police. The police turn up, see it, speak to the bank, and the guy lives next door. So when they went in to speak to... This is even worse. When they go in to speak to this guy, the other half of the bank card is on his kitchen table.
Oh, case closed.
It's just sat there. He didn't even have the brains to throw it away or hide it. He just left it on the table. So police have gone, oh yeah, thanks very much. Those two together, off you come with us, son.
Did he think his neighbor was gone or something? Why would you do that?
Why?
If you knew your neighbor was in there,
neighbor's house. Yeah.
Right. Okay, I could understand if he was like,
so weird.
Fred is on holiday somewhere, so I have, I can get in, right?
No.
And then maybe then it breaks, and then oh shoot, Fred's here. I got to take off, and you're come on. A is your neighbor. You should know when he's there and not, for the most part.
Yeah.
B, if your credit card breaks, make sure you take the whole thing with you, guy.
Yeah. Or why don't you pretend to be drunk and say you thought it was your flat? You live next door. You could be like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I had too much to drink. I was trying to jimmy to get back in again.
Yeah.
I lost my key. I didn't know what I was doing." Why wouldn't you just? He obviously is not a quick thinker. Didn't think quick on his feet. Bless him.
Probably saw that on YouTube, like how to get into a place with a credit card.
I know. I mean, realistically, nowadays, how many places can you actually get into with a credit card anymore?
No.
It's
not happening.
Locks have changed a bit since the 50s. You can't really do that anymore. So stupid. So off he went, arrested then for attempted burglary and in trouble. Criminal record for you now.
Now he has to get a new place too, because you can't go back to your home.
How embarrassing.
Hey, Fred. Sorry about breaking into your house.
I think I would have feigned a head injury. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I would have can you take a parcel for Fred next door? No, sorry. I can't take anything for Fred next door. Don't want to see him ever again.
Does not like me.
So
wow.
If you want to submit a dumb criminal to us, you can do. You can just email us. Email addresses are so easy. It's just contact@crimepedia.com. No, crimepediapodcast.com.
Yep.
That's it. And or you can just send us it on Instagram. That's probably the best place. Don't send it to us on Facebook because we're both useless with Facebook.
Won't see it.
So
we're horrible.
Don't do that.
We're the worst.
You probably won't see it till next year. We are terrible with Facebook. So thank you for joining us this week. It's lovely to be back with you. We will be back in 2 weeks' time with another case, and that'll be my case. So for now, be nice.
And bye.